He is known for his advocacy towards LGBTQ issues. He has 25 years of uniting communities and promoting acceptance among a diverse diverse group of people. There would be people with different sexual orientations, different gender, different religious backgrounds, you name it. His work as a film producer and star of several documentaries based on diversity, including one called Fish Out of Water, really demonstrates his passion for diversity and for promoting acceptance among everybody. Everybody please welcome with me the keynote speaker for tonight, Baird.
Well, it's a complete honor for me to be here. I have traveled all the way from Chicago, and I've been in the Spokane area 3 times now, and it's always been great. It had mentioned earlier that it was a documentary called Fish Out of Water. I'm probably in it about 18 seconds, but I have to tell you, I was at an LGBT film festival, and I had not seen the film, and it's basically about referencing the LGBTQ community into what the Bible does or doesn't say about being gay. And I had not seen the film, so I'm sitting with a full house, and all of a sudden I see a 50-foot me on the screen, and I shrieked like a big old queen when it came up, and I thought it was pretty awesome. So I've done a lot of work since then, and still shrieking if I get a chance now and then. I want to congratulate everybody on getting to this journey in your life, and it's truly a shining moment because it gives you an opportunity to look back on your journey that you have traveled to, your young journey that you've traveled to, and where you're going. And I think that's really important in finding our sense of community, but also our sense of inclusion. And I mentioned earlier in a speech I did here a few hours ago, about an hour or so ago, about finding our legacy. And what is our legacy? What do we be remembered for? And what kind of community do we want to be in? As I mentioned, I'm from Chicago. I've been there since 2003. And prior to that, I lived in northern Michigan in a very small resort community where I worked at a college. And being the voice of change in our life is a unique thing to think about, and it's something I encourage people to do. And the world is always changing around us. And for a lot of us, it comes and goes all the time and what we should be doing, and our dedication does pay off. And as I always mention, the celebrities are great when they come out of the closet, and they say who they are, and it gives us a lot of hope. And for a lot of us that are LGBTQ community, we're like, yeah, I kind of gathered that, I figured that was going to happen. But the real change happens not so much with the celebrities and the sports figures, but when you come out and are proud of who you are in your own community and you share your story, who you are. We have a habit of being on our phones and texting and on the computer, and those things are great, but we live in fear because we're not talking to each other anymore. And that's an extreme thing we need to do, is start talking about who we are and what our passions are, and sharing them, and finding out that we no longer need to live in fear, but knowing our differences are celebrated, and they should be celebrated because it creates change. And it creates change not only within us, but to our families and our friends, and what I like to say to our extended family. I didn't have this kind of opportunity when I was in college. I did my student teaching, my background's in speech and theater. I know that's kind of a hard thing for you to grasp around. But I got my degree in secondary ed, and I had come out to my parents at the worst time because I was doing my student teaching in Michigan, and while leaving at home with my mother, I came out of the closet to her while I was getting the free rent, the free room and board, while I wasn't getting paid for my student teaching. Needless to say, when I came out to both parents, they decided not to come to my college graduation. And I really want to thank our extended family and your friends and your teachers that are here today that are celebrating you and raising you up because I think it's really special and it's a complete honor for me to be here. When I got to the whole speaking business, I've been doing it for 25 years and I did it in college, and I think it's quite interesting. The first speaking thing I ever did in college, I was with a LGBT group on campus called GLASS, which meant Gay Lesbian Association for Student Support. Long acronym. And they asked me in college, I go, well, you know, you've been with the group for a while, would you like to go speak? And they're like, oh, I don't know. I wasn't really completely out at that time, but I said, I'll give it a shot. And I said, well, what is it for? And they said, well, it's a university program class on campus, and we're all going to go speak in a lecture hall. And I said, okay. I go, well, what's the name of the class? It's a sociology class called Social Problems. And I thought, well, that's fantastic. Now I'm a social problem. So, I later on started doing a lot of other things, quite amusing. And it came a pivotal point in my career. I was working in higher ed, and I was working with an agency out of Chicago, and I'm in northern Michigan, and they said, Greg, we're getting a lot of requests for you to go speak at colleges and universities and some high schools, and we'd like to offer you, instead of doing part-time, we'd like to represent you full-time to go speak. But here's the catch. You need to be near a major airport to fly in and out. So I really loved my job where I was at, but I knew there was more to life for me than being the director of student activities and director of Res Life and adjunct theater professor. I did it all, director of the lecture series. So I had to think a lot about it. During that time, I became friends with Matthew Shepard's mother, and Judy Shepard, who facilitates the Matthew Shepard Foundation out of Denver. And I became really good friends with her. Well, in 2000, I went to my old school, Central Michigan University, to go speak. The following year, I get a phone call. This is after I've known Judy for a couple of years. And she says, hey, Greg, I am speaking at your school, and I'd like to know if you'd like to come down and introduce me. And I'm like, oh, right on. That's cool. Yeah, I would love to do that. So I drove down about 2 hours from northern Michigan to my school, my old alma mater. My friend Tim, who still lived there, was going to go with me, and there was a little reception for Judy prior to, and then it was a packed house. So the auditorium, if you kind of look around here, I think this holds 600 and some seats. It was like 1,500 in this auditorium, which is at with a balcony. And so I came out. I introduced her. I didn't have a special seat in the front, so I had to go up towards the top of the balcony where my friend Tim was. And when I was up there, there were some students from a residence hall who had the banner paper, you know, that large paper that's on the roll. And they had a sign. They said, hey, Greg, do you mind taking us down to introduce us to Judy? And we want to give her this poster that everybody signed from our residence hall. I go, absolutely. So this is just a few years after Matt was murdered on a fence in Laramie, so the topic was very hard to listen to, it still is, but it was still very new for her, and she always cried during her lecture. It was very, very moving. So the lecture was over, and Greg, you got to keep in mind, I'm still processing, should I leave the college, and I'm trying to figure out my place in life and where I should go. And I'm filing down the middle of the auditorium. There was like a row that came right down here, and everybody's filing out. And all of a sudden, my friend Tim goes, Greg, there's a young girl, red-haired girl, over there that's trying to get your attention. And so I look over, and she's going, Greg, yelling at me, and I'm like, oh, hi. I didn't know she was like, how you doing? You know. So I took the students down to the front, introduced them to Judy, and then all of a sudden, it was like kind of like where these rows are here. I was standing in the front, and this red-haired girl came up. She was totally exhausted from running and dodging people. She goes, oh my God. She goes, I can't believe it's you. And I said, I'm sorry, do I know you? And she goes, well, not really. And I said, well, and she goes, I'm just happy to see you. I said, well, I'm happy to see you too. And she goes, I was at your lecture a year ago. I said, well, right on. That's really cool. And she goes, I'm not finished yet. And I'm like, okay. And she goes, I came to your lecture. I listened to everything you said, and I thought it was really great. And she goes, but I had no intention excuse me, I had no intention of coming to your lecture that night. And I said, you didn't? She goes, no. She goes, but I'm glad I did. I said, well, thank you. I'm glad you did too. And she goes, I'm not finished yet. And my friend Tim was like, girlfriend, you need to let her talk. So I listened to her, and she goes, I was in my dorm that night, and I drew 2 maps out. I said, you did? She goes, mm-hmm. She goes, I was going to kill myself that night. And all of a sudden, just like what just happened now, the sound left the room. And I go, excuse me? And she goes, yeah. She goes, I left a map, 2 maps for my roommates to find in 2 envelopes. And I was walking out of my residence hall to go to one of the locations where they would find my body. And I saw the poster from the student programming board up on one of the walls. And she said, I thought I'd give it a shot. She goes, what do I have to lose? She goes, I came to your lecture. And she goes, I really learned a lot about myself. And she goes, you know what? I'm still here. And she goes, I went home the next day because my parents live about an hour away, and I told you, and I know you told us not to come out right away, but she goes, I did. And she goes, I came out to my parents, and they love me just the same. I was in a bad relationship with an older female here on campus, and I told her to hit the road. And I got counseling. And I graduate in 2 months, and she goes, I always thought if I ever saw you again, I want to personally thank you for saving my life. That was my voice of change. My friend Tim was a mess crying next to me. I said thank you to the girl. I mean, what do you say to somebody that tells you some information like that? I never saw her again. She did a little whoop, little hop, and off she ran. Never saw her again. And my friend Tim turned to me and said, if that doesn't tell you what you should be doing the rest of your life, you are a dumb son of a bitch. You're going to have a moment, maybe not as dramatic, maybe you will in your lifetime, where you're going to create change, not only for yourself, but for others. You don't have to be a politician, especially right now. You don't have to be a celebrity or a public speaker, because change happens in your own community because all of you sitting here. It's us sharing our stories, volunteering, giving back, participating and engaging. You do it your way, and that's the way to do it. We're often told that we're broken people. We're not broken people. We're unique. We're beautiful, talented, creative, intelligent. Yeah, we're different. And I embrace that. All of you should embrace that. Our parents should embrace that. We are in the world to change the world. So I'm asking you to let your own light shine. Be the voice of change for yourself. Inspire your life and inspire others as you go on. I want to say congratulations and thank you for all your hard work and dedication, and it's been an honor to be here tonight. Thank you.